Hello, so I've lifted the next section up and gave it a turn and it's locked into place. And so this is the third tier of my telescopic pot. As you know, I've started the little tomato plant. It's a little sucker down here, and as it's grown we've been topping the cocoa and perlite up. And this is how big it is already. It's only 5 days since my last video, so the second section, it was only 3 inches sticking out of the second section, and this is it. So it's doing really well. So I may end up only being able to fit one of my tomato plants in. I put a little stick in there just to give it a bit of support. But I'm hoping once it's really well rooted, it'll be such a thick stem that I shall always support it with a bit of string from the roof of my grow tent. So what we're going to do now is I was going to cut that string off with the one hand, but you'll have to excuse me. I can't cut it with one hand. There we go. So there we have it. We've just cut that piece of string off. So now what we're going to do now is top this next section up with cocoa and perlite. So and so all these it'll root all the way down this stem as well, so it would have been rooting from the bottom all the way to the top to this stem. So that's how deep the roots will be. So it's a really strong tomato plant, and also it should be make it really healthy in the future. So what we're going to have to trim these branches off, which does seem really brutal in a way, a young plant like this, but it's really important at the moment to do that. Again, you can see we've got flowers coming. I don't want any flowers yet, so I've taken the flowers off. That's twice I've done that. Eventually, when the last section's in there, we will be letting the flowers grow, and they will be growing not far from the top. So what I'm going to do now is get some cocoa and perlite. It says 70% cocoa and 30% perlite. So as you can see, it's quite a big pot when it will be full. I've already given the measurements in my previous videos. And if you've been watching the previous videos, you can see how quick this tomato plant has grown in the grow tent. There we go. So we put quite a bit in there. I'll just spread that about. There we go. And I've got some of these clay pebbles, which I like to pour in and spread around a bit to add a little bit of support to the medium and the tomato plant stem. Again, it has been soaking up within 2 or 3 hours by leaving it in the auto pot tray. I may decide to give it a bit of just a gentle soak in eventually, but when I've done it this time, but not much, just a little tiny bit. It does soak it up eventually out the tray. And there we go. So I'll put some more in. It might seem like an odd thing to do to some of you, what I'm doing now. Most of you would have just planted it and let it grow, but it really does make it a big difference eventually to your tomato plant, whether you believe me or not. It really does. The roots don't just root the main roots from which your normal plant. I mean, sorry, if you planted a seed or a normal plug plant, you'd have your main roots and your secondary roots, and your tomato plant. You'd plant, maybe take a couple of branches off and then plant it down a few inches, and that would suffice more than not to start your tomato plant off. And then your roots, your main roots would grow, but your secondary roots would only be down just 2 or 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, certainly not much more than that, whereas these are really deep, and it's going to get even deeper because you've got another section to go on yet. And then, so if it was March time, this would have been growing, probably not as quick as it has been growing in a grow tent. So you'd grow it to this point and then maybe take it into the greenhouse in March time, and it's already had a fantastic start. It might be a bit cold, but because the roots are so deep and quite well established, it should be okay. A lot, even if I had a cold snap, because the roots are deep, it'll help the plant to recover. There we go. A few more clay pebbles. Mix them in. I have got the other telescopic pot, which will be going back into the grow tent. I would like to try grow 2. At the moment it's sitting down there, needs topping up, but I think eventually, because I didn't realise how quick this was going to grow and how well in this telescopic pot and in the grow tent, and in the time frame it has grown, as you've seen from the previous videos, 5 days, how quickly that's grown. It may get to the stage where I can just use one telescopic pot, the big one, and there you go. Can actually take this out now. Just wanted to support it a little bit as it grew, because it was growing really quickly. Not very good a bit of video in there, but there we go. And that's done now. I wasn't going to give it I haven't been giving it a water because I've been letting it soak in, but I may give it a bit of a soak. Just shutting the door, and that's it. And as you can see now, it's been rooting from the bottom. We've got to this point now. We shall leave it and let it grow again. And I've got one more ring to put on, and there we have it. And then by the time that ring's on, it'll be well over a foot. I forgot how many inches there is. As you can see how deep, how big that is eventually, but that's how deep the roots are. And we're not just rooting from the main root, which you normally plant it there and going down. It's the whole stem. And it's all secondary roots because it's a sucker. It's because I just wanted to show you how well these telescopic pots work. It's just something I've done in a matter of opinion, and I just wanted to show you how I do it. Yeah, and then so what happened is, once the last section's up, we'll let it grow by itself then, and we'll let the tomatoes come. Tomatoes will start growing from near the bottom of or in our case the top of the pot there, and you will get some really smashing bunches of tomatoes hopefully. Or normally in normal compost anyway, but we're just going to try this cocoa and perlite in the grow tent, and hopefully we'll get lots of tomatoes on that as well, but we'll see how it goes. But we'll certainly get a good root system, and it's working fine so far. So any questions, let me know, but thanks for watching. Bye.